playing on Saturday at Minnesota Original Music Fest at 5:30. And then I also do an act with my grandfather called The Old Guy and the Kid, and a duo act with my buddy Cooper called The Super Bastards. I also play bass in a band called Poor Lemuel. Cool.
Yeah, that was everything.
Okay, good.
Said all of it.
All right, cool.
But yeah, I've mostly been playing with The Last Rebel these days. Things are a little bit too busy to keep both of those things in the air at the moment.
And have a family, right? It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything I was missing down there, Annie?
Yeah, so I just work as, Annie Mac, and I pay artists and musicians to show up with me to places to do that. So very grateful, and I'm always very humble and honored when established artist decides to support a peer. So thank you so much, Mr. Tudius, for being here today, and he too is getting paid. So yeah, it's good. Yeah. Sorry, I'm in the depth of summer parenting right now. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll start on that end. So I thought we would start out with each of us just playing one song to kind of...
We'll do Shadows of a Kingdom. I wrote this tune with a lot of experiences in mind, but mostly, so I have a 22-year-old who's just fantastic, my daughter, and she's helped to raise me. And so, and bearing witness to her own struggles and realizing that in order for her to step into her sovereignty and for her to step into her her full greatness, that, Mama Bear can come and, make it all right and make it all easy, right? So, and then just the acknowledgement of my own journey as a woman, as a black woman, queer black woman, and just kind of the feeling like we have to perform miracles to be recognized in this space. So we'll just do the tune. Oh, yes. The storm had been building for quite some time. Felt it in my spirit, and I saw the signs. I held my breath as I watched her hold on. She screamed as she beat her fist against her chest and then around. It ain't easy being queen in the shadows of a kingdom, trying to turn water to wine, hoping and praying that it's not all in vain. It's just a matter of time, just a matter of time. The refining had taken place. Her thoughts and her body were sacred, no longer afraid to take up space. Her work had been done long ago, in the depths of my soul, yes. I knew she was beyond whatever I could dream. Shadows of a kingdom, trying to turn water to wine, hoping and praying that it's not all in vain. It's just a matter of
was fantastic, Annie. I was just like going throughout work today and listening to all of you on Spotify, and I was really hoping you were gonna play that song. So this is great. Vinny, you wanna go next? All right.
I think I'm gonna play a song called New Friend, which is one that I wrote when I moved back to Minnesota after living in Portland, Oregon for a minute. Well, my wife and I moved to Portland to follow a job for her, and then the world ended. We kind of lost our housing and decided to move back in with my parents. And I would go on walks every morning around a little nature area behind their house, and kept spotting this bird kind of doing weird things and kind of self-destructive looking things. I thought it was kind of weird and decided that I should probably write a song about that. So I did, and then I kind of put it on a shelf and didn't really think much about it, and then was kind of dealing with some grief a few years later, and it kind of became a thing I cared about again. The song is. So yeah, this is New Friend. I met a new friend, hugging the feathers, screaming at the way it feels. Up on some cattails outside the runoff. It's a bad time of year to be laying in the field. Coyote comes to watch too. Won't satisfy your hunger today. No kill to bring home to family. Just a curious study in the nature of things. Crimson among the snowflakes, breaking, longing and pain. I wonder, does my new friend feel guilty? Leaving their months from today. New portrait from my perch. Smoke rising green and silver. Bleached ivory washed clean of dirt.
Thank you, Vinny. It's all you, man.
Well, those were some really good, great songs. All right, here's one of mine. This is just a little, I have a really hard time staying positive about myself and the future and everything, and as you can maybe tell. So I wrote this little song as sort of like a little reminder slash just kind of an optimistic song that I could play and sing and kind of remember a moment where, you know, I feel like someday is coming and it's going to be great when it gets here. So I don't know what else to say about it. It's going to be on our new record too. It's called Someday is a Long, Long Time. Someday I'll be better, like a house plant when the summer starts its bloom. I'll break down the walls, convince everyone I won't darken the room, and I'll dance with a charm, apprehending both the ladies and their blades. Won't second guess or triple guess or sink in one of these starkly pleasant days. But if I break, my best will do just fine. Someday is a long, long time. Someday you'll be living in a city far from everything you know. Specters from the past, more scarcely catch you where you go. They're chasing wind and whiskey, rhythm, rivals in a place you better fit. Some gonna take you serious, others gonna point out the jokes in it. But if you break your best, we'll do just fine. Someday is a long, long time. Someday we'll feel the heat and scramble back to a little home. Hopefully we built it, hopefully it's made of river stone. Someday when we awaken, all the melodies have tucked themselves nights we sing till we find a way to get by. Someday is a long, long time. It's a long, it's a long, it's a long, it's a long, long time.
Caleb's like one of my best buddies ever, and every time he sings, I get so happy. So I'm really happy you're here. Good choice. Thank you. All right, so I've got just a couple of general questions for all of us, and then I kind of specifically crafted some questions for each of you. But we can start with like the general ones, and maybe just go back down the line, Caleb, if you want to go first. So because you three have all had success in performing live music, can you describe the process of how you went from playing music for yourself to playing music live? And was there any challenges that you faced, or what came surprisingly easy?
So I started playing. I started playing publicly when I think my first like public gig was when I was like 13, and so there were only really a couple of years before that where I was playing only to myself, and then I got my first gig down at the Coffee Hag in Mankato. And for whatever reason they booked us 8th graders to play and that was probably a mistake, but I'm grateful for it, and that was really wonderful. And I kind of knew within the first 2 or 3 gigs that I played at that age that it was something that I wanted to like work on and bring forward and try to do more seriously as the years went by. So it felt like a pretty natural progression, I suppose.
Feel like got started playing music kind of under the auspice of sharing it with other people. I had played violin in orchestra growing up for just kind of for some reason. I don't really know why. But when I started playing music with friends, it was like, this is something that I want to do because I want to share it with other people. I want to be able to perform this in front of whatever other people happen to be in the room. And then I met some friends in Mankato when I think my sophomore year of college, and we just kind of started playing tunes that were intuitive and sharing them at an open mic night, and then kind of one thing led to another, and I guess 11 years later, I'm still playing music, and I feel like success feels like a weird word in the context of doing anything, I guess. It's because there's so many ups and downs. You play the best show of your life, and then you continue to run into roadblocks the very next day. To feel like any sustained success is really a thing feels kind of odd to talk about, but yeah, I guess just one thing leads to another. And
You had one of your first shows at the 410 Project, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, and you want to go next just about how you went from singing for yourself to singing to others, for others?
Right, so it was fairly cathartic for me. I think the magnitude of grief kind of pushed me into a space of delusion. If you've ever experienced grief in such a way that it changes your identity. And so when my mother passed away, I felt the need to, I don't have any, formal training or wasn't raised in a household or, anything like that. So I really believe it was something given to me more so like a platform or a tool perhaps of just relatability and storytelling. And so when my mother passed away, I was in such a space of grief and just kind of heartbreak and then just processing a lot that I just had to get it out. So initially I started as like spoken word poetry. I just kind of wrote things down. I never ever ever thought I would be a musician or have the audacity to go in public and do this. And so, so yeah, that's kind of how it started. And I would agree with the whole idea of success. You know, it's the difference for me between going to the dollar store or Costco. I don't know. You know, like, but I'm grateful. I've been put in a lot of spaces that I think were just beyond my control, and I'm very grateful for that. And so, yeah, you know, just telling stories, having a connection. So.
Okay, so I want to know a little bit about each of your guys' songwriting process, because I feel like that's a very common question that people will ask musicians. I know I've gotten it a lot, and I'm kind of like thinking back to watching the Tom Petty documentary, and they ask him that question, and he just says, I don't know, it just falls from the sky, which is like so unhelpful. But I think it's kind of a hard question to ask you guys, but I'm just curious about how you, I don't know, go about, do you find specific times to write for yourself? Do you have to, I don't know, hear someone say something and then get home and write a song really quick, or how do you go about that? Or Annie or Caleb, want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
In between life happening, I wish I could, a lot of the peers or people I admire, they're like, I went to a cabin in the woods for 2 weeks, and you know, and it's like, no, I wrote shit on a napkin when I was serving tables, and I would go into the bathroom because I'm like, there's got to be more. Nothing against serving tables, I just wasn't that great at it. So like, that's your thing, that's your hustle, but there's just something inside of me that there's got to be more. There's a reason that it's like, you know, fire shut up. There's something that I can't even give voice to it, and so I write down pieces, and then I hope that it comes together to complete the puzzle. And I'm patient. You know, the older I get, I'm like, I was hungry, and I'm still hungry, but in a different way. Obviously, I'm hungry, but I've learned to what's authentic. If I feel something, if I can't let it go, if my spirit and my head keeps going to this, you know, I've allowed the process before. I was shark mode, hustle, 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 and if I'm correct, when the world ended, or you know, our interpretation, when everything, it was like, whoa, you know. So when I write, and I hope to get to if someone wants to host me in a cabin, a mother of 3. You know, I'll clean up after myself. So I would love to have a little retreat, mom's writing. So, but yeah, in between life happening, laundry, you know, dishes, homework, dinner.
Yeah, I feel very, very similar towards that. Just like my process has developed quite a bit over the years, and I think the biggest caveat I've figured out recently is just to not force things. I think a similar note to you is that it's like always trying to finish things, I guess prematurely, when I was first starting to write songs, or just like if I had an idea, I needed to sit down and just like give up the rest of my day to figure out what that song was, and that could work. I don't know that I wrote my best songs like that, but it is kind of like trying to set things up so that a song can just fall out of the sky for you. You know, it's waiting tables, and I wrote a few really good songs in my opinion. Well, just working, cooking food at my grocery store, just like words kind of came to mind, and I didn't feel so invested in what I was doing that I wasn't able to just take a step away from it and write down a couple words here and there and let things kind of just develop naturally. Yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest kind of strategy for songwriting is just like giving yourself space, giving yourself like consistent. It's my daughter. Take your kid to work, Dave. The biggest thing I feel like is just like having a consistent practice of just writing down words, even if they don't matter at the time. If they feel like they move you, then put them down to paper, and then give yourself space to reflect on that. Give yourself just the opportunity to have a song fall out of the sky into your lap.
Make sense? Caleb?
So oh man, I love songwriting. There's like no better feeling than when you can put those pieces of the puzzle together and then you have this new, fresh thing that you've brought out. And it's great. And for me, I think it happens differently, like every single time. It really is like as they both said, like especially like working like the day jobs, like making sandwiches or whatever. That's a really good time to be writing lyrics upstairs. So there's been a lot of that's happened. I try to like when I'm just like noodling around on the guitar at home. I try to like if there's an idea that I have and I'm like, ooh, I might want to do something with that. I try to like get a little recording of it and then compile like a bunch of different music ideas. So then like when lyrics finally happen, which is the part that requires, I think, the most patience. When those happen, then I have like a bunch of possible homes for them to go to. And I think that's been a fairly reliable method for me so far. But really like they said, like the patience aspect, like not forcing it and really just like kind of waiting, because the song is going to come in its own time, and there's not like you can rush through it and you can finish it, but like there was just recently there was a song that I've been working on for a couple of months, and it was just like driving me up the wall, and it was like the only thing I could think about, and it haunted my nightmares, and it was just a disaster. And then finally one day I was like, nope, okay, we gotta put this one away for a little while, and then I wrote like an entire different song like right after that, and I was like, well, geez, where'd that come from? So yeah, it's just such a weird and crazy and awesome thing.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how your albinism has changed your musical experience? Do you have to learn music differently than others? And how has your memorization skills been crafted?
Yeah, so the reason why I'm a 25-year-old who looks like an ancient mountain goat creature is because I have albinism, so my hair and skin are extra super duper crazy white. The main thing about albinism is that it affects your eyesight, so I have low vision, which, as I've been learning music, has presented some like challenges, but also I'm grateful for it in a sense, because I'm like forced to memorize stuff, whether it's a cover I'm learning, or if it's a song I'm learning for somebody else, or if it's a new song of mine, or anything like that. I really have to memorize it, because if I didn't, I'd be like have to be on somehow holding my sheet of paper this close to my face while playing, which just isn't very practical. So that is that's kind of how it impacts me from that standpoint, from the memorization standpoint. I think my kind of like side mission musically is to like just be a person with albinism who is kind of out in public, and I just want people to see people with albinism doing stuff, because there's not a lot of us around, and in the media and on movies and TV and everything, we're portrayed in a pretty negative light. So I just kind of try to bring a little bit of I don't know what to say about it. I just want people to not be weirded out by people with albinism in a general sense.
Positive enthusiasm.
Yeah.
All right, Vinny. So explain, hi. Explain the choice of developing a second project separate from The Last Rebel, and how does playing in two different projects affect your performance in each?
When I first decided to start trying to play some solo gigs, I think it was out of necessity. We were kind of, the last Rebel was playing enough shows that we could kind of make a living doing it, but then we would also have pretty wide gaps in our schedule where I couldn't quite get a job outside of touring. So I decided that I would try to get some solo shows, get a couple bucks here and there, and maybe learn a thing or two about playing guitar and kind of fronting a project. But then the last Rebel broke up for a little bit, and it was like, well, I guess if I want to play music, this is my opportunity to do that. And I put a lot of effort into trying to figure out what my solo project looked like, what it sounded like, and tried to just let it develop naturally into something a little bit more me, and tried to take a step away from more bluegrassy sort of stuff. But then the last Rebel got back together, and then it just really became a matter of like creative expression. Having a project that I could call my own, it's given me the opportunity to just kind of like really look at how I write songs and listen to what I get a kick out of in someone else's music and see how I can apply that to my own. I feel like in the context of how it's made me a different performer in the last Rebel, I feel like having a lot more practice writing music gives me the opportunity to write better songs and bring better songs to the table. I feel like it's given me a little bit more confidence in myself that I get to dance around a little bit more on stage with the last Rebel. I get to have a little bit more fun up there because I'm just more comfortable in my own skin, because I've played a lot more shows to 0 people at this point. I feel like it gives a lot of context too. I can go from like playing a handful of like brewery money gigs, just kind of making a couple bucks sitting in a corner playing some tunes, to no one paying attention and like get a kick out of it. At least I'm doing my thing. Then turning around and like making music that people will sing along to, and having the ability to play shows that really feel like a connective experience between the performer and the crowd. Having both sides of the coin in my pocket feels humbling and ingratiating at the same time.
That's an like interesting viewpoint, just to like, because I've seen some photos on the last Rebel Instagram where there's like thousands of people in the crowd, and then I think I opened for Vinny when we were at Nikado, and it was
5
my mom and dad were there.
Oh boy.
And just this last one I have is, when you're writing your songs, do you mostly think that you're just writing it because you need to get it off your chest, or are you ever kind of specifically crafting songs that you know your bandmates will like, or things that you think the crowd will like?
I think the songs that I hope that the crowd would like comes kind of last. I feel like I always really hope that the music that I write would resonate with people. It seems to be kind of the point, for me at least. But I don't really know which songs are going to have that magic and which aren't until they're actually played in front of people. I tend to just kind of write freely and try to edit myself in terms of what I bring to what project. Like there's some songs that I'll write that are like I did have a cabin in the woods experience last month, which those guys, they're awesome. There's this little farm out in outside of Menominee, Wisconsin, that hosts artists for artist retreats called Everwood Farm. They're incredible people out there. And while I was out there, I was trying to kind of put together a number of just like a bunch of songs for me, but like maybe a handful of things that I could bring to the Last Rebel. And I wound up falling in love with this piano that they had in this old barn, and I don't play piano, but I wrote a couple songs on it. And it was something totally different than anything I've done before. I'm really excited about those songs, but I 100% could never see those going over with The Last Rebel. And I think it's just kind of a matter of just like knowing the kind of like frequency, for lack of a better word, or just the direction of a creative project.
Are those songs for The Last Rebel like mostly written by Lee, or do you guys all like collaborate on them?
We all collaborate on them quite a bit. Well, collaborate is kind of like we all work on them together, yeah. But usually there's one of us that'll bring the song to the table, and then it's kind of like workshopped in terms of like musical components. But no, Lee, Ryan, and myself all share writing responsibilities quite equally. I think that Ryan actually might write most songs for the band. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to make a tally.
No, it doesn't matter. We like them all. All right, I got two questions for you, Annie.
Well, before we go any
yeah.
further, I just want to say thank you so much for curating this space, Mel, and I appreciate you tremendously. It isn't always easy as an artist to step into the role that you're doing tonight, so thank you. And then also thank you so much to the community of St. Peter for showing up and supporting the arts and live music. And so I'm very humbled and very appreciative to be here. So thank you. Of course, to share space with these amazing, I love the contrast. I did it, and I did the friction. So thank you for sharing space together tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Annie. We're happy that you're here. So correct me if I'm wrong, I don't often see you play a musical instrument when you're singing. Do you play an instrument at all? Okay, awesome. So I guess I'm just really curious about that, because my mind goes to how do you write the lyrics and then add a musical instrument with it. I think I often also hear people say that they're interested in playing music, but they don't know how to play an instrument, but they might be into like poetry of some sort. So yeah, maybe just explain a little bit about that.
Yeah. I sound crazy. I do a lot of melody. So I think I play to the bass, and so over time when I first started, I was very, very green. So I've had to learn everything kind of on the job, so to speak. But I just have, when I started primarily blues, and so I listened to a lot of my mother's records and things growing up, so I would be able to articulate, like, I want to do second line, kind of a Bobby Blue Bland, soul type tune. Or I want to do a traditional, that's where it started for me, is recognizing when I listened to music, what it was. And so I'm a big, Stax fan, I'm a big soul fan, country, western, like I grew up, with Loretta Lynn, and so many different styles. So understanding the different styles of music and how the story is told helped me to be able to, find language surrounding of how I wanted to write a song. And now I just, sing into my, and I sound crazy, I'm very grateful I can meet people, and I'm like, and then this is gonna be like, and then after that, it's like, and they roll with me, so I'm grateful for that. But, and I've been fortunate, I know how to utilize artists who have been gifted with being able to write music and transpose, and who can hear where, you know, I've been very fortunate. It's humbling to have to work and feel like you're dependent upon someone else. But it works out. So once I kind of, you know, put my ego away and just had to lean into that, it's really quite beautiful. So.
Do you have any advice on someone who maybe is interested in doing a path like yours? Like if they don't know how to play an instrument, but they want to be involved in music?
I think it's important to absolutely find community where it's respectful, where it's an ever-growing community that is about like the artistry, you know, sharing ideas, being willing to help each other. You know, you go to the open mics, you go to live music, you do your homework, you know, go to a lot of live music, you start showing up, you know. I started going to blues jams, and I would just go week after week and stare at people. And then you know, finally Mr. Shapiro or Moses Oakland was like, you need to learn a song and get your ass up here and do a song, you know. And so I'm grateful for blues music because it's a mentorship style where you, and I think bluegrass is like that too, where you're brought in and you sit underneath somebody and you learn the history and you learn, you know, your craft. And just go, you know, get out. And if you have to drive, you know, go to the cities or go around here or ask questions, you know, just try to find those spaces. And this looks like, you know, is one of those spaces, so.
I think so. My last question is, anyone who visits your website can read that you're, quote, still proud to be singing while Black and writing while Black, unquote. How did growing up as a young BIPOC woman in Minneapolis affect your musical taste and the choices you made as a musician?
I'm very grateful. It's terrifying to be a Black woman right now. It's terrifying. And it's interesting we assume that we practice humanity. You know, we assume that the assumption that there's a practice of humanity. But being, you know, a Black woman, cis, identifying, realizing that there's so much that's done to try to strip my humanity, to take away my humanity, so that it's easier to justify the heinous and to justify true evil. So I go into spaces when I started to perform. I remember going into spaces that were very intimidating for me. Small towns, rural spaces where there's not a lot of Black folks, spaces where, but it was important to show up. It was important to hold legacy and heritage. It's important to talk about American roots music. It's important to talk about the contributions of Black, you know, folks to this music, Appalachia. You know, the correlation between, you know, African instrumentation. That yes, we play banjos and fiddles and you know, things of that nature. So I show up even when I'm terrified. I show up even when I'm disgusted. I show up, and then there's times where I protect my peace and I don't have capacity. And so I'm very particular about where I show up, but I understand the call, you know, and I've learned to lean into that. So, and I'm grateful, you know, I don't apologize, you know, for who I am.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you again to the Art Center, to Triple Falls, to Annie, Vinny, and Caleb, and Joe. And am I missing anything else? Oh, I guess make sure you check out the website and the posters. There's a lot more events happening, and there's actually one happening right after this. And I'm going to let Eli explain because I don't know exactly. But I just wanted to end the night with another quote that I found on Annie's website. And she says, "Do something that you like before you leave this life."
May I learn to be
Well, thank you all for So thank you all for coming to these events. I'm the director of the Minnesota Original Music Festival, Eli Hain, and Mal put on a really great show, and this is the third year that we've done this, and it gets better each time it happens. So I really appreciate Mal's efforts. She put a really great group of guests together. Thanks to Annie Mac for coming down, and Joe for helping us out with this accomplishment. And Vinny, with The Last Revel, and last year's host back here, Caleb Brown Schultz. We had him as a host, and I thought, you know what, he should actually be a guest as well. Just wanted to mention that there is a show coming up in just a few moments. There is a guy by the name of Larry McDonough. Just happened to do an article about him. John Bream wrote an article. I think it came out a couple of days ago. It's attorney by day, protecting the rights of tenants, and musician by night, playing for $100 a gig. So, but at any rate, Larry and his quartet are going to be here. And I think a few years ago, Larry was involved in a project where he was working with some special needs kids who wrote melodies. He took the melodies and created full compositions out of them. He's going to come down and perform them with his quartet and talk a little bit about that process. So please don't leave too far. There are refreshments. And if you want to help support the Minnesota Original Music Festival, by the way, we have some really stellar t-shirts up there. The design was made by Wendy Schultz, and they're really good. And some stickers and stuff, so, throw money at us and we'll give you some stuff in return. So thank you, everybody, and please stick around for the next show. It'll start around 8-ish or so.